Who let you up here? You lost, sweetheart.
I'm here to audition.
The host looked at the crowd.
Audition? In those shoes? She walked in looking like a night shift at the gas station.
The audience laughed.
And thinks she's a celeb. No coach, no backing, no nothing. Your mama couldn't even dress you right. What makes you think she raised somebody who can sing?
My mother is dying. She's the reason I'm here.
This is a competition, not a homeless shelter.
One song. That's all I'm asking.
Silence. The white man at the judge's table leaned into his mic. His hands were shaking.
Let her sing.
Nobody noticed. Nobody asked why. But when that girl opened her mouth, he understood exactly why he couldn't breathe. 3 days earlier. The fluorescent lights in room 412 at St. Thomas West hadn't stopped buzzing since Tuesday. Harper Mitchell counted the days by the rhythm of the dialysis machine. 3 beats, a pause, 3 beats again. Her mother's arm lay thin against the hospital sheet, needles taped to veins that barely held. Denise Mitchell slept in fragments. 10 minutes here, 20 there. Each time she opened her eyes, she found Harper in the same plastic chair, knees pulled to her chest, pretending to scroll through a phone with a cracked screen and no data plan. "You're still here," Denise whispered. "Where else would I be, Mama?" Denise's lips cracked when she smiled. She was 41, but looked 60. Kidney failure had hollowed her cheeks, yellowed her skin, stolen 30 pounds she couldn't spare. The doctors spoke in numbers: creatinine levels, filtration rates, wait list positions. Number that mattered most? $187,000. Insurance covered a fraction. Medicaid covered less. "Sing for me," Denise said. The way other mothers might say goodnight. Harper sang low, an old Etta James tune Denise had taught her before she could read, back when Denise still sang, back when her voice could stop a room cold on Printer's Alley. Before the white man with blue eyes and a recording contract disappeared on a Thursday morning. A man whose family wouldn't accept a black woman carrying his child. Denise never said his name, not once in 18 years. A nurse named Gloria paused in the doorway, IV bag in hand, and stood there until the song ended. She didn't clap. She just exhaled, long and slow. "Girl," Gloria said, "you got no business keeping that voice in this hallway." On the wall by the nurse's station, someone had taped a poster, bright yellow, bold red font. Voice of Tomorrow, Season 12, $250,000 grand prize. Open auditions, Nashville, this Saturday. Harper had walked past it 9 times. Tonight, she stopped. $250,000. She looked back at room 412. The machine beeped. 3 beats. A pause. 3 beats again. The apartment smelled like mildew and overdue rent. Harper locked the door behind her. 1 deadbolt, 1 chain that didn't catch, and dropped onto the mattress on the floor. No frame, no sheets. Just a blanket Denise had sewn from old t-shirts the year Harper turned 12. The fridge hummed but held nothing. A bottle of hot sauce. Half a jar of peanut butter with a knife still stuck in it. On the counter, 3 envelopes from the hospital. She didn't open them. She already knew what 6 figures of debt looked like. Harper pulled up the Voice of Tomorrow website on her cracked phone. Registration deadline, Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Entry fee, waived for open auditions. She tapped Apply Now. The form asked for a demo reel, a headshot, a vocal coach reference. She had none of it. She called the number at the bottom of the page. A woman answered. Polished voice, rehearsed patience. I'm sorry, all audition slots for Nashville are full. Please, I just need one. Ma'am, we have over 6,000 applicants. The wait list alone is... My mother has 3 weeks, maybe 4. I don't have a demo reel because I've never recorded anything. I don't have a coach because I can't afford one. But I can sing. That's all I've got. The line went quiet. Then, I'm sorry. I can't help you. Harper hung up. She sat on the mattress and stared at the ceiling, where the paint peeled in long strips like dead skin. The knock came at 11 that night. Layla Brooks, same building, 2 floors up, same zip code, same story, minus the dying mother. She was holding a phone with a case held on by rubber bands. Get up. Lay, it's late. The stairwell on 7 has the best echo in this whole building. I checked. We're filming your audition tape right now. They said the slots are full. Then we make them open one. Get up. They climbed to the 7th floor. Layla propped her phone against the railing. No ring light, no mic. Just concrete walls and a buzzing exit sign. Whenever you're ready, Layla said. Harper closed her eyes. She thought about room 412, the machine. 3 beats, a pause. She opened her mouth and sang, at last, the way Denise used to sing it, standing barefoot in their kitchen, stirring a pot of rice, pretending the wooden spoon was a microphone. Her voice climbed the stairwell and bounced off 7 floors of concrete, raw, unpolished, impossible to ignore. Layla posted the video at midnight with 3 words. Just watch this. By morning, it had 2 million views. By noon, the phone rang. The same polished voice from Voice of Tomorrow, but different now, softer. Miss Mitchell, we'd like to offer you the final audition slot. Saturday, 10 a.m. Harper said yes. She didn't tell Denise, couldn't risk the worry. The woman's heart was barely keeping up with the kidneys. She packed the only clean outfit she owned into a grocery bag and waited for Saturday. Ethan Caldwell's house had 14 rooms and no noise. He sat at the grand piano in the west wing, a Steinway worth more than most people's homes, and pressed a single key. Middle C. He held it until the note died, then pressed it again. He'd been doing this for an hour. 14 Grammys lined the shelf behind him, 2 American Music Awards, a Brit Award he kept in the bathroom because he thought it was ugly. The industry called him a genius. Rolling Stone called him the white man who understood soul music better than anyone alive. He hated that quote. Not because it was wrong, but because he knew exactly where he'd learned it. A woman in Nashville, 18 years ago. A jazz singer with a voice that made the walls lean in. Denise. He never used her last name when he thought about her. Just Denise, the way you say the name of someone you lost before you were ready. They'd met at the Bluebird Cafe. She was singing for tips. He was 29, fresh off his first platinum record, scouting talent. She sang God Bless the Child, and he forgot to breathe. After the set, he offered to produce her album. She laughed and said she couldn't afford studio time. He said he'd cover it. She said she didn't take charity from white men in expensive shoes. He fell in love with her that night. For 11 months, they were inseparable. He produced 3 songs for her. She taught him how to feel music instead of just arranging it. She was the reason his second album had soul. The critics praised his growth. He never corrected them. Then his father called. Richard Caldwell, founder of Caldwell Music Group, a man who believed bloodlines mattered more than melodies. You're seen in public with that woman again. You're out. No inheritance, no label, no name. She's a musician, Dad. She's black, Ethan, and you're a Caldwell. End it or lose everything. Ethan chose everything. He packed a bag on a Thursday morning, left a note that said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this," and flew to Los Angeles. He didn't call, didn't text. 6 months later, she was gone. New number, no address, vanished. What he didn't know, what Denise made sure no one would ever tell him, was that she was 8 weeks pregnant the morning he left. Now he pressed middle C in a house with 14 rooms and wondered why none of his Grammys made a sound when it got quiet. His phone buzzed. A text from the Voice of Tomorrow production team. Season 12 judges briefing tomorrow. Contestant list attached. He'd be joined by 2 other judges this season. Victoria Sloan, former pop star turned reality TV queen, famous for making contestants cry on camera. She once told a 16-year-old his voice sounded like a cat in a washing machine and trended for 3 days. And Raymond Foster, R&B legend, 4 decades in the game. The kind of man who called every contestant baby and meant it. Victoria was the blade. Raymond was the bandage. Ethan sat somewhere in between, carrying a wound neither of them knew about. He scrolled through the contestant list. 600 applicants narrowed to 40. Headshots, bios, demo links. He skimmed without stopping. 11 seasons had taught him they all blurred together. He didn't pause at Harper Mitchell's name, didn't click her viral video, didn't notice the girl with the voice that 2 million strangers already loved. He set the phone down, closed the piano lid, and went to bed in a house with 14 rooms, and no one to say goodnight to. The line outside the Nashville Convention Center stretched 3 blocks. Harper counted the heads in front of her, 200, maybe more. Every one of them looked like they belonged. Designer bags, wireless earbuds, vocal coaches whispering last-minute tips into their clients' ears like cornermen before a fight. Harper wore a second-hand blouse Layla had ironed at 4 in the morning and jeans with a bleach stain on the left knee. Her shoes were the same ones from the hospital, white sneakers gone gray, held together with electrical tape on the left sole. She carried her things in a plastic grocery bag because she didn't own a purse. A girl in front of her turned around. Blonde, spray tan, lashes so long they looked like awnings. She looked at Harper's grocery bag, then at Harper's shoes, then at Harper. "Are you in the right line, honey?" Before Harper could answer, another voice, louder, sharper, cut through. "Oh, my God, Clarissa, look, it's the stairwell girl." Clarissa Whitmore turned. 20 years old, white. Daughter of Gerald Whitmore, the man whose company sponsored half the show's ad breaks. She wore a dress that cost more than Harper's rent. Her smile was the kind that made you check your pockets. "The viral one?" Clarissa looked Harper up and down, slowly. "You're kidding." "I'm not." "Sweetie." Clarissa stepped closer. 2 million views doesn't mean you can sing. It means people like watching train wrecks. You know that, right? Harper said nothing. "Where's your coach?" "Don't have one." "Your manager?" "Don't have one." "Your anything?" Clarissa tilted her head. The girls behind her giggled. "God, they really will let anyone in now, won't they? What's next? Auditions at the bus stop?" A security guard watched from 10 feet away, arms folded. He didn't move. "I heard her mom's sick," one of Clarissa's friends whispered, loud enough to be heard. "That's her whole sob story. She's not here to sing, she's here to beg." "Makes sense," Clarissa said. "That's kind of their thing, isn't it? Show up somewhere they don't belong and make everyone feel sorry for them." Harper's grip tightened on the grocery bag. The plastic crinkled. She could feel the heat crawling up her neck, the pressure behind her eyes. She could walk away. Every part of her body was telling her to walk away. But 12 miles east, a machine beeped 3 times, paused, and beeped again. And the woman attached to that machine had taught Harper one thing about singing that no vocal coach could. You don't sing because people want to hear you. You sing because if you stop, the silence will kill you first. Harper looked at Clarissa. You done? Clarissa blinked. Because I've been waiting in this line for 4 hours, and I'd like to keep waiting in peace. You can go back to judging my shoes now. Clarissa's smile stiffened. She turned around without a word. Her friends followed, a flock of silk and perfume retreating to safer ground. Harper exhaled. Her hands were shaking. She didn't let go of the bag. Inside the convention center, the auditions had already started. She could hear muffled singing through the walls, trained voices, polished runs, the kind of performances that sounded like they'd been rehearsed 1,000 times. Harper had rehearsed once, in a stairwell, on a broken phone. Her number was pinned to her blouse, 263, last one of the day. By 6 in the evening, the judges looked like they'd been held hostage. Victoria Sloan had stopped smiling 3 hours ago. Raymond Foster rubbed his temples between contestants. Ethan Caldwell sat with his arms crossed, staring at the table, giving one-word feedback to the last dozen singers, who all sounded like different flavors of the same thing. 39 contestants down. 1 left. Number 263, the stage manager called. Harper Mitchell, you're up. The lights were already dimming for wrap-up when Harper walked out. No entrance music, no choreography. Just a girl in a second-hand blouse and gray sneakers, carrying nothing but a microphone she didn't know how to hold properly. Victoria glanced up, looked at the shoes, looked at the blouse, wrote something on her notepad without hearing a single note. Raymond leaned back and offered a polite nod, the kind you give someone you've already forgotten. Ethan didn't look up at all. He was reading the next day's schedule on his phone. The host, the same one from the earlier exchange, stepped to the edge of the stage. Harper Mitchell, 18, from East Nashville. No formal training, no representation. He read it like a weather report. Before we begin, why are you here? Harper leaned into the mic. The speakers popped with feedback. She pulled back, adjusted, tried again. My mother has kidney failure. She needs a transplant. The surgery costs $187,000. I can't pay for it. She paused. I'm here because her time is running out, and this is the only thing I know how to do. The audience murmured. Victoria looked up from her notepad. Raymond sat forward. Ethan still hadn't raised his eyes. Whenever you're ready, the host said, stepping back. Harper closed her eyes. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The studio was silent, the kind of silence that makes camera operators nervous. A producer in the control room reached for the cut button. Then she sang. No track, no backing, no piano. Just her voice, alone, filling a room built for 5,000 people. She sang A Sunday Kind of Love. Not the way it had been recorded, not the way anyone on that stage had ever heard it. She sang it the way Denise Mitchell used to sing it in a kitchen in East Nashville. Barefoot, stirring rice, turning a hymn into a confession. The first note hit low and warm, like a hand on your chest. The second climbed. By the third, the murmuring stopped. By the 8th bar, a woman in the 4th row pressed her hand over her mouth. Victoria Sloan put her pen down. Raymond Foster stood up. Not at the end. In the middle. He just stood, like his body decided before his brain did. Ethan Caldwell looked up, and the room tilted. He knew that voice. Not the notes, the texture. The way she dragged the vowel on love half a beat longer than the melody asked for. The way she dropped into the bridge like she was falling on purpose. The way her vibrato didn't shake, it ached. He had heard this voice before. Not on a stage, not on a record. In a jazz club on Printer's Alley 18 years ago, from a woman who stood barefoot on a wooden stage and made 20 strangers cry into their bourbon. His pen slipped from his fingers. It hit the table and rolled off the edge. He didn't pick it up. Harper held the last note for 6 seconds, clean, unbroken. Then silence. The audience erupted, standing ovation, all 5,000. The noise hit the stage like a wall. Victoria's eyes were wet. She didn't wipe them. She never cried on camera. This was a first. Raymond was clapping with both hands above his head. "Lord have mercy," he said into his mic. "Lord have mercy." 3 green buttons lit up. 3 yeses. But it was Ethan who spoke first. His voice was steady. Barely. "Where did you learn to sing like that?" Harper smiled for the first time that day. "My mama? She used to sing jazz in Nashville. She taught me everything." Ethan's face went white. On camera, in front of 22 million viewers. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. The camera caught it. The internet would replay it 400 million times. He just didn't know it yet. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his hotel room at the Hermitage, 6th floor, corner suite, city view he didn't look at, and typed the same search into Google over and over. Denise, jazz singer, Nashville. Nothing. Denise, vocalist, Printer's Alley, 2008. Nothing. Denise Mitchell, singer, Tennessee. A Facebook page with no photo, no posts, no friends. Created in 2014. Last active in 2016. Dead end. He closed the laptop, opened it, closed it again. The girl's voice played on a loop in his skull. Not the notes, the architecture of it. The way she bent into the bridge of A Sunday Kind of Love, like she was leaning into a doorway, checking if anyone was home. That wasn't trained. That wasn't YouTube tutorials or vocal coaches or rehearsals. That was inherited. Passed down like eye color or the shape of a jawline. He'd spent 11 seasons judging voices. He'd never once felt his hands go cold. The next morning, round 2. 40 contestants cut to 20, each one given a song from a pre-approved list. Harper drew I Will Always Love You, the Dolly Parton original, not the Whitney version. The producers expected her to go big. Power notes, runs, the full vocal gymnastics routine. She didn't. She sang it a half step higher than the original key. Stripped it bare. No runs, no embellishments, just the melody and her voice, steady as a pulse, cutting through the studio like a blade wrapped in silk. And she did the thing again. The thing Ethan couldn't stop seeing. When she hit the high note on Will Always Love You, she didn't push. She pulled. She leaned back from the mic, let the note float out of her chest like she was releasing something she'd been carrying too long. Her eyes closed. Her chin tilted left. Left. Denise tilted left. Every time, on every high note, in the Bluebird, in the kitchen, in his studio 18 years ago, when he recorded her singing a demo that never saw the light of day. Ethan gripped the edge of the judges' table. His knuckles whitened. Raymond noticed. You good, brother? Fine. Ethan's voice was flat. She's good. Good, Raymond laughed. Man, that girl is once in a generation. Victoria, for once, said nothing cruel. She just wrote yes in capital letters on her scorecard and circled it twice. After the taping wrapped, Ethan walked to the production office. He asked a PA for the contestant files. Routine, he said. Pre-screening due diligence. The PA handed him a manila folder. Harper Mitchell, age 18, East Nashville, no prior training, no competition history. Emergency contact, Denise Mitchell, St. Thomas West Hospital, room 412. Mitchell. He stared at the name. Mitchell was Denise's maiden name. She'd used it on her first demo. He remembered because he'd typed it himself on the label. Denise Mitchell, track 1, River Lullaby. His phone was in his hand before he realized he'd taken it out. He scrolled to a contact he hadn't called in years. Dr. Alan Whitfield, his college roommate, now a geneticist at Vanderbilt. Alan, I need a favor. A private one. How private? The kind that doesn't leave your lab. That evening, Ethan returned to the audition venue. He found Harper's dressing room, a folding chair and a mirror in a hallway, really. On the counter, a hair tie, a water bottle, and 3 strands of hair caught in the elastic. He took the hair tie, slipped it into his jacket pocket, and walked out without looking back. Clarissa Whitmore didn't lose. That wasn't how her life worked. She'd been groomed for this. Private vocal lessons since age 9, a recording studio in her parents' basement, a father who sat on the show's board of sponsors. Her path to the Voice of Tomorrow finale had been paved before she'd sung a single note on camera. Then Harper Mitchell walked out of a stairwell with a cell phone video and 2 million views, and the pavement cracked. Clarissa watched the round 2 replay in her dressing room, the real one, with a couch and flowers and a door that locked. She watched Harper sing I Will Always Love You, and she watched the judges' faces melt, and she watched the comment section explode with words like generational and once in a lifetime. Then she closed her laptop and called her father. Daddy, we have a problem. Gerald Whitmore didn't ask what kind. He asked who. Within 24 hours, the story broke on 3 entertainment blogs simultaneously. Voice of Tomorrow under fire. Did viral contestant get special treatment? The article cited anonymous production sources claiming Harper had been given the final slot after the deadline, a rule violation. They called it favoritism. They called it a publicity stunt. One blog called it poverty exploitation packaged as inspiration. The hashtag started small. Hashtag Cheater Harper. By noon, it was trending in 12 states. Harper found out the way most people find out they're hated. She opened her phone. The video of her stairwell audition now had 30,000 comments. Half of them were new. She only got in because they felt sorry for her. Classic welfare case. Give me free stuff because my life is hard. Can we stop pretending every sad story is talent? Go home, hood girl. You don't belong here. Harper sat on the curb outside the convention center, knees to her chest, the same position she slept in on the hospital chair, and called Denise. It was the first time she'd told her mother about the show. Mama, I'm on Voice of Tomorrow. Silence on the line. Then a breath. Then Denise's voice, thinner than thread. I know, baby. Gloria showed me the video. People are saying I cheated to get in. Did you? No. Then sing. That's all you ever had to do. A pause. A cough that lasted too long. You sing for you, Harper. Not for them. Not for the money. For you. Harper pressed the phone against her forehead and cried without making a sound. She'd learned that too from Denise. How to break quietly, in public, where nobody could use it against you. That night, Denise's doctor called Harper directly. Dr. Amara Collins. She didn't soften the update. Your mother's kidneys are at 9% function. Without a transplant in the next 3 weeks, we're looking at full systemic failure. I want to be honest with you. The window is closing. 3 weeks. 21 days. Harper had made it to the semifinals, but the finale was 16 days away. She did the math on the back of a hospital parking receipt. If she won, the prize money would clear in 5 to 7 business days after the finale. That left her 4 days of margin. Maybe less. It was enough. It had to be enough. In a lab at Vanderbilt University, Dr. Alan Whitfield placed a call to Ethan Caldwell. It rang twice. The results are in. And 99.97%. She's yours, Ethan. The line went dead. Not because Alan hung up, because Ethan dropped the phone. The semifinal round had one rule: original songs only. No covers, no arrangements, no borrowed melodies. Every contestant had to stand behind their own words. Harper had never written a song in her life. She sat cross-legged on the hotel room floor, a room the show provided, the nicest place she'd ever slept, and stared at a blank page in a notebook Layla had bought from the dollar store downstairs. The pen hadn't moved in 2 hours. She tried writing about strength. It sounded like a greeting card. She tried writing about survival. It sounded like a PSA. She tried writing about her mother, and the words came out tangled and wrong. Because how do you write about a woman who taught you to sing while dying and make it fit into a 3-minute song? At 2 a.m, she gave up on writing and called the hospital. The night nurse answered. She's sleeping, stable but weak. She asked about you before she went under. What did she say? She said, "Tell my baby to sing the one I wrote for her." Harper hung up. She sat on the edge of the bed and pressed her palms into her eyes until she saw color. The one I wrote for her. She knew exactly which song Denise meant. River Lullaby. Denise had written it before Harper was born. A lullaby for a baby she didn't know would grow up without a father. She'd never recorded it, never performed it, never even written it down. She just sang it. Every night. From Harper's first day in the crib to her last night at home, before the hospital took over. Harper knew every note, every breath, every place where Denise's voice would crack on purpose because the crack was part of the song. She picked up the pen and wrote a second verse. New words for an old melody. A verse about a girl who grew up singing her mother's song in an empty apartment, pretending someone was listening. A verse about the father who was supposed to be there and wasn't. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his face. But she wrote about the shape of his absence, the empty chair at the dinner table, the blank line on her birth certificate, the silence where a deep voice should have been. She finished at 4 a.m. 2 verses, 1 bridge, no chorus, because River Lullaby had never needed one. The melody did the repeating on its own. Semi-final night, 12 contestants. Harper drew the 10th slot. Backstage was a war zone of hairspray and ego. Clarissa Whitmore's team occupied the largest dressing room. 3 stylists, a vocal coach, a manager on speakerphone with Gerald. As Harper walked past the open door, she heard Clarissa rehearsing a song called Born to Rise. It was polished, calculated, Built to win. Harper's dressing room was a folding chair in a hallway. Same as before. She didn't complain. She tuned out the noise, closed her eyes, and hummed River Lullaby until her slot was called. When she reached the stage, something was wrong. She tapped her in-ear monitor. Dead. No signal. She looked at the sound tech in the wings. He shrugged. "We'll fix it during the break," someone whispered. "Just go." Harper stepped to the mic without hearing herself. No monitor. No reference pitch. Just the memory of a melody she'd heard 10,000 times in a kitchen that smelled like rice and dish soap. She sang River Lullaby the way Denise would have wanted. Eyes closed, no movement, feet planted like roots. The first verse, Denise's words, floated out soft and low, a mother telling her unborn child that the world was loud, but this song would always be quiet enough to sleep to. The second verse, Harper's words, hit different, harder. A daughter asking the dark why her father left, asking the ceiling why she learned to sing from a woman who gave up singing, asking the silence if anyone was ever going to answer. In the judges' row, Ethan Caldwell stopped breathing. He knew this melody. Note for note. Beat for beat. Denise had sung it for him once, only once, on their last night together in Nashville. She'd pressed her hand against her stomach and said, "I wrote this for someone who isn't here yet." He hadn't understood then. He understood now. The tears came before he could stop them. On live television, in front of 26 million viewers. He pressed his hand over his mouth, but the camera had already caught it. The control room held the shot for 11 seconds. The director knew gold when he saw it. Harper finished, opened her eyes, saw the crowd on its feet, saw Raymond crying openly, saw Victoria gripping the edge of the table, saw Ethan, a man she'd never met, weeping in a way that made no sense. She didn't know why. Not yet. Ethan sat in his car in the parking garage for 40 minutes after the show wrapped. Engine off, lights off. Phone in his lap, screen still glowing with the message from Dr. Whitfield. 99.97%. She had a daughter. She was 18. She sang like her mother. She was sleeping somewhere in this building on a folding chair in a hallway because no one had thought to give her a proper dressing room. His daughter, sleeping on a folding chair, while he sat in a rented Mercedes with heated seats. He pressed his forehead against the steering wheel and stayed there until the leather warmed against his skin. The next morning he called his attorney, Jonathan Marsh, Harvard Law, $200 a sentence. "I need to know my legal standing regarding a biological child I didn't know existed." "How old?" 18. "Were you on the birth certificate?" "No." "Did the mother ever seek child support?" "No." "Then legally, you're a stranger. Biologically, you're her father. Those two things don't touch unless someone files paperwork." A pause. "Ethan, is this going to be public?" "It already is. She's on my show." Silence. Then, "Don't say anything on camera. Don't approach her privately. If this leaks before you control the narrative, it'll look like a conflict of interest. The show dies. Her credibility dies. Yours doesn't, because it never does for men like us. But hers will." Ethan understood. The math was ugly, but simple. If he revealed himself now, Harper would be disqualified. The internet would say she won because her father was the judge. Everything she'd earned, the audition, the rounds, the standing ovations, would collapse into a headline. "Nepotism on Voice of Tomorrow." He couldn't do that to her. Not after 18 years of doing nothing. So he sat in the judge's chair the next day and graded her like a stranger. Gave notes. Kept his face neutral. Clapped when the audience clapped. Said, "Well done," when what he wanted to say was, "I'm sorry I wasn't there when you said your first word." But at night, he drove. He drove to St. Thomas West Hospital, parked on the second level of the garage, walked through the lobby, took the elevator to the fourth floor, turned left at the nurse's station, stopped at the window of room 412. Denise was awake. She was propped up in bed, thin as paper, watching something on a tablet resting on her lap. The blue glow lit her face. She looked older. She looked tired. She looked exactly like the woman who sang "God Bless the Child" at the Bluebird Cafe 20 years ago and made him forget every song he'd ever written. A nurse approached. "Can I help you, sir?" "No, wrong room, sorry." He walked back to the elevator, pressed the lobby button. The doors closed. He leaned against the wall and exhaled. A long, broken breath that sounded like it had been locked inside his ribs for 18 years. In his car, he pulled up Harper's contestant profile on his phone. Emergency contact, Denise Mitchell, room 412. Next of kin, none listed. Father, blank. He stared at the word. Blank. The empty line where his name should have been. The space he'd left on a Thursday morning when he chose a record deal over a woman who loved him and a child he didn't know was coming. His thumb hovered over Harper's phone number in the file. 1 tap. 10 digits. He could call her right now. He could say everything. Who he was, what he'd done, why he left. He could tell her he was sorry. Sorrier than any lyric he'd ever written could hold. He locked the phone, set it on the passenger seat, started the engine. Not yet. The finale was in 6 days. Harper had to get there on her own. She had to win on her own. And when she did, he would tell her everything, even if it destroyed him. Especially then. Finale night. The studio held 5,000 seats. Every one was taken. Outside, another 2,000 watched on screens mounted to the side of the building. 28 million tuned in from home, the highest-rated episode in Voice of Tomorrow history, and it hadn't even started yet. 3 finalists, 3 songs, 1 winner. Clarissa Whitmore went first. She wore a custom gown, white, floor-length, embroidered with crystals that caught every light in the room. Her song, Born to Rise, was engineered like a weapon. Key changes in the right places, a gospel choir backing her on the bridge, a standing ovation from the front 3 rows, all friends and family, all seated strategically by Gerald Whitmore's PR team. Victoria gave her a 9, Raymond gave her an 8, Ethan gave her a 7. Clarissa's smile didn't waver, but her jaw clenched. She knew. A 7 from the head judge meant he'd already chosen someone else. The second finalist, a 23-year-old tenor from Atlanta named Nathan Cole, sang a ballad that cracked in the second verse. He recovered, but the damage was done. The audience clapped. The judges were kind. Everyone knew he'd finished third. Then the lights went dark. A single spotlight found the center of the stage. The piano was already there, an upright, not a grand. Harper had requested it specifically. She didn't want to hide behind a 9-foot instrument. She wanted the audience close. She walked out in the same blouse she'd worn to the audition. Layla had sewn the bleach stain into a pattern that looked intentional. A small white star on the left knee of her jeans. Her shoes were new, the only new thing she owned, bought with the $200 weekly stipend the show gave finalists. She sat at the piano, adjusted the mic, looked into the camera. This song is for my mother. She wrote the melody before I was born. She never recorded it. She never performed it. She just sang it to me, every night, until she couldn't anymore. Harper's voice was steady, but her hands shook on the keys. Mama, I know you're watching. This one was always yours. In room 412 at St. Thomas West, Denise Mitchell lay propped against 3 pillows with a tablet balanced on her chest. Gloria, the nurse, stood beside her, holding the IV stand steady. 3 other nurses had crowded into the room. Nobody was on rounds. Harper played the first chord. Then she sang. River Lullaby filled the studio like warm water. The first verse, Denise's words, moved through the room slowly, carefully, the way a mother's hand moves across a sleeping child's forehead. It was a lullaby, but it carried the weight of a woman who knew she'd be raising that child alone. The second verse, Harper's words, changed everything. The melody was the same, but the temperature shifted. A daughter, not a mother. A question, not a comfort. Where did you go? Why wasn't your voice the one I heard through the wall at night? Why did I learn every song from a woman who stopped singing the day you left? Harper didn't look at the judges. She looked at the camera, directly into the lens where she knew Denise was watching. In the judges' row, Ethan Caldwell was no longer pretending. The tears came on the second verse. Not the quiet kind, the kind that pull your face apart. He pressed both hands over his mouth. His shoulders shook. Victoria reached for his arm. He didn't feel it. 28 million people saw it. The control room held the shot. The director muted his headset and said to no one in particular, "We're going to win every award this year." Harper held the final note. 6 seconds. Longer than she'd ever held anything. The note didn't waver. It didn't thin. It just stopped, cleanly, like a door closing without a sound. Silence. 1 second. 2. 3. Then 5,000 people stood up at the same time. The sound hit the stage like a wave breaking against rock. Ethan stood too. But he didn't clap. He walked out from behind the judges' table, past the monitors, past the camera operators, past Victoria, who called his name and got no answer, past Raymond, who reached for his sleeve and missed. He walked to the stage, up the 3 steps, across the floor, and stopped in front of the girl at the piano. His microphone was still on. 28 million people were listening. "I need to tell you something." 18 years ago, Ethan said, "I made the worst mistake of my life." The studio was silent. 5,000 people held their breath. The camera operators stopped adjusting. The director in the control room whispered, "Stay on him. Don't you dare cut." I was in love with a woman in Nashville. A singer. The most gifted person I've ever heard in my life. And I've spent 30 years in this industry. He paused. His voice cracked. She was black. I'm white. My father told me to choose between her and my career. I chose my career. Harper stared at him from the piano bench. Her hands still rested on the keys. I left on a Thursday morning. I didn't call. I didn't come back. And I didn't know, I swear to you, I didn't know that she was pregnant. The gasp from the audience was audible on the broadcast. A woman in the third row covered her face. A man near the back stood up and sat back down, like his legs had made a decision his brain reversed. Your mother's name is Denise Mitchell. She used to sing at the Bluebird Cafe. She wrote a song called River Lullaby for a child she was carrying alone. A child I should have been there for. Ethan's voice broke completely. Harper, I'm your father. Harper didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't move. She sat at the piano and stared at the man in front of her like she was trying to read a word in a language she'd never learned. The microphone picked up a sound, a small, sharp inhale. That was all. Then her phone buzzed in her back pocket. She pulled it out by reflex. The screen showed one word. Mama. She answered on speaker. She didn't mean to. Her hands were shaking too hard to find the right button. Denise's voice, thin as thread, filled the studio. Baby, I'm watching. I see him. A breath. A cough. I always knew who he was. I never told you because I didn't want you to grow up carrying hate. You had enough to carry. Harper pressed the phone against her chest. The sobs came now. Silent, the way Denise had taught her. But the microphone was close enough to pick up the shaking. 28 million people heard a mother forgive an absence of 18 years in 4 sentences. Ethan dropped to one knee in front of the piano bench. I'm sorry. For every birthday, every recital I never saw, every night you fell asleep without a father in the house. I'm sorry. Harper looked at him, tears on her face, voice steady as stone. Did you leave because of me? I didn't know about you. If I had, nothing on this earth would have kept me away. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. She just nodded. Once. The studio erupted. The show broke for 30 minutes. The producers didn't want to. Every second of dead air cost money. But there was no script for what had just happened. Gerald Whitmore called the executive producer from the parking lot, demanding Harper be disqualified for turning a talent competition into a soap opera. The executive producer listened, then said, Gerald, your daughter finished second. Get in the car. When the broadcast resumed, only 2 judges sat at the table, Victoria Sloan and Raymond Foster. Ethan had recused himself. Conflict of interest. The legal team had drafted the statements in 11 minutes. The results were read by the host, the same man who, 3 weeks earlier, had told Harper this wasn't a homeless shelter. He didn't look at her when he opened the envelope. His hands were steady, but his voice wasn't. The winner of Voice of Tomorrow Season 12, with the highest combined score in the show's history. Harper Mitchell. The number on the screen, $250,000. Harper didn't scream. She pressed her hand over her mouth, the same way Ethan had 20 minutes earlier, and sank onto the piano bench. Layla rushed the stage from the 3rd row, jumping the barricade, security letting her through because even they were crying. The confetti fell. The lights went gold. The audience chanted her name. And in room 412, Denise Mitchell held her tablet and cried into the hands of a nurse named Gloria, who'd stopped pretending she was working an hour ago. 48 hours later, Ethan Caldwell sat across from Dr. Amara Collins in her office at St. Thomas West. I want to cover the transplant, the full cost, surgery, recovery, immunosuppressants, everything. That's very generous, Mr. Caldwell. The prize money should... Not the prize money, my money. The prize is hers. She earned it. This is separate. He paused. Consider it 18 years of child support. Retroactive. Dr. Collins didn't ask questions. She pulled up the paperwork. The surgery happened 9 days later. A matched donor from the registry. 6 hours in the operating room. Denise Mitchell woke up with 2 functioning kidneys and a daughter holding her hand, and a white man standing in the doorway who hadn't decided yet if he had the right to walk in. Denise saw him. She didn't speak. She just looked at him, the way you look at someone you loved once, someone who hurt you once, someone you've thought about every day for 18 years without ever saying their name. Ethan stepped inside, sat in the plastic chair next to Harper, the same chair Harper had slept in for weeks. Nobody spoke. The machine beeped, but the rhythm was different now, steady, even, alive. 6 months later, the Ryman Auditorium, Nashville, sold out. Harper Mitchell's first headlining concert. The marquee read, River Lullaby Tour, 1 night only. Front row center. Denise Mitchell, 30 pounds heavier, color in her cheeks, wearing a dress she'd bought herself for the first time in years. Next to her, Ethan Caldwell. Not holding her hand, not performing reconciliation for cameras, just sitting, present, which was more than he'd been in 18 years, and they both knew it was a start, not a finish. Harper walked to the mic. She looked at the front row, saw her mother, saw her father, together, not together, but there, both there. She played the first chord of River Lullaby, and this time, when she sang the lullaby her mother wrote for a baby born alone, both parents heard it.
So a girl with no coach, no demo, no father on her birth certificate that gone to $150,000 and gave her dead mother a second life. But the money isn't what broke the internet that night. Ethan Caldwell told his father were the Grammys, the Martian, the name, and for 18 years he sat in a house with 14 rooms and no one to say goodnight to. He had everything except the one boy that made music mean something. Then it had nothing except a daughter who could go onto a stage and make 5,000 strangers stand up at the same time. That's what happened when you try to silence love. It doesn't disappear, it's a find a different throat to sing through. And when it finally does, it doesn't whisper, it fills the whole room. So I got to ask you, if keeping everything means losing the one person you made you feel something, did you ever really had anything at all? And if love can survive 18 years of silence, what else have been underestimating? Tell me what you think below. I read everyone. Share this if someone needs to hear it tonight, and subscribe because the next story is as powerful. See you there.